Hey, this is Clay Morgan, and this is Revive Newcastle, where we acknowledge what was, we recognize what is, but we embrace what could be. Tonight we have a great conversation with three ladies, and they are the founders of an organization called the Henry County Women's Recovery Center. And tonight we will hear from Meagan Kraus. And Meagan is the executive director of the Henry County Women's Recovery Center. She is a certified mental health and recovery coach. She is also a certified Restoring the Foundations deliverance minister. She also brings to the table her own lessons learned and freedom for her own battle with alcohol for 27 years. Tonight we also have with us Shelly Hanson. Shelly is passionate about seeing the captives set free, and this started when Jesus radically set her free from addiction in 2003. Since then, she has diligently pursued the phenomenon of mind renewal and has received training in several emotional healing and prayer modalities, including a certification in brain rewiring. She is one of the founders and serves as the Henry County Women's Recovery Center by creating and teaching the brain rewiring curriculum and is one of the directors. Tiffany Youngquist is our third guest. She is, again, one of the founders of this organization. She is the associate director and a life skills coach for the Recovery Center. She has been married to David Youngquist for 21 years, and together they have 8 children. Tiffany has always had a heart to volunteer and work in the nonprofit sector. Over the years, she has helped bring systems, programs, and processes to many nonprofits, including Mothers of Preschoolers, the 2-2 Family Member Program, and Victory Lane, just to name a few. Her passion is to use her talents and skills to bring order, organization, and sustainability to the organization that she is involved in. So let's get started with this great conversation with the women from Henry County Women's Recovery Center. Hey, welcome everybody. We are here tonight with Meagan and Shelly and Tiffany, and they all are co-founders of the subject matter of tonight, and that is the Henry County Women's Recovery Center. And if you watched the last time we put an episode on, we dealt with the upcoming event, Rock and Recovery. And so I got a hold of Meagan because I wanted to connect with these guys before that event because they will have a booth at the event. So I thought this was a great opportunity for them to share about what they do, who they are, and then you can come to the Rock and Recovery event and then talk to them personally. So let's get started. All right. So let's start right off the bat here. And Meagan, we'll go ahead and direct this to you. Who are you? Who is this group and what do you do?
Yes. So we're a center that believes addiction is not the problem, but a very poor solution to an already existing problem. And what we see, and for most of our women, trauma is the problem that has led to the addiction, right? And usually it's trauma that has started in childhood and then lasted through the years, whether it was the same trauma or just different trauma. But yeah, different trauma and even trauma in their addiction, right? That keeps them in their addiction. And so this is just chipped away at their identity and their purpose and who they are. And so our focus as a center is really coming in and helping these women to get restored back to who they were always meant to be. We want to restore their lives and their souls from what addiction and trauma stole from them. So we understand that there is a real addiction. We understand the chemical part of it and the chemical addiction and the habits, and we go after that. But we also go to the root of the heart and soul of the woman, of where she has been broken, and help her to restore.
Yeah, and so I love using the word restore because we're all Christians and we hear a lot at church restoration and he's the God of restoration. And
Hmm.
I've been thinking about that word recently a lot, because of another subject, but the idea of restoring something,
Yeah.
or basically, if I'm using the right word, augmentation, right? Or creating something different. I
Hmm.
may be using the wrong word, but restoring is bringing back to its original purpose, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so I 100% believe, agree. We are all created with purpose. We are designed
Hmm.
with destiny. It's a few years ago. You know how preachers do. We like to give fancy titles to things. 3 points in a poem, right? But DNA, divine nature attributes, right? That's who we really are. So I love that. Does any of you guys want to talk, like, I don't know, just take this opportunity to maybe share your heart a little bit about that particular word, restoration, what that really means, what that looks like in someone's life, right? Because I know for a couple of you, it sounds like there's been restoration take place for you personally, even.
Hmm.
So does anyone want to share on that? I see Shelly's little box light up there,
Yeah,
so
it did. It did. I saw it too.
I mean, I can. I know that Megan and Tiffany can definitely chime in on this too,
absolutely.
but restoration is, I mean, that is the that is what happened to me. This was a life that I lived, was a horrible life in addiction. And when I found Jesus, that's exactly what he did for me. And so for me, this is about restoration. It's just about bringing you back to the place that you were originally intended. It's about God breathing on us, and the path that we were on, this path of destruction, that was a detour from the original intent that God had for us. And so it's like when the Lord brings you from this path of destruction and he puts you back on the path that he originally intended you for, it's just amazing. And then when you realize, because I'll say this, I remember when I first got saved, I was so miraculously set free from addiction that and I found the Lord, and it was just this amazing time. And I remember thinking subconsciously, I guess, like this might be the coolest thing that God ever does in my life. That's what this is it. I've been set free from drugs and alcohol, and that's it. Like check, that's it. And I didn't realize, it took me a minute to realize that, oh no, that was a detour, and he brought you back to your original purpose. And you have a purpose in God that he created before you were ever born, and now he's picked you up, he's plucked you up, and he's put you over here, and now run. Run with the purpose. And so I
Mhm.
just went on a little detour, but man, I learned a lot along the way. And so he takes all things and works it for our good. And he put me back on that place. And then he said, run. And so,
Yeah. So what's amazing to me, so I've I met you after salvation, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
that's how I know you, right?
Yep.
But I've heard stories, Shelley.
They're so bad. They're so bad.
No, but here's what's amazing about God is he is able to take that and look at you now, right?
Mhm,
And I'm speaking to all of you in this mind frame, isn't it amazing? It's almost, I've had this thought before because I just like to challenge myself with thoughts and things. We know, right? Surely we know that a life of addiction, sexual promiscuity, fornication, all these things are not the will of God,
mhm,
right? We know in scripture, we know that's called sin.
mhm,
However, isn't it amazing that our life of sin leads us into a destiny that we wouldn't quite be able to articulate as well had we not veered off that path?
Right.
And it's
Right.
almost like I don't. I hope I don't confuse anybody who's listening to this, but sometimes I'm like, God, did you actually mean for that to happen, or
He
because
works all
even
things for good.
And you do, right?
Right.
You go back to that
Yeah.
scripture, Megan, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
truly is. It's all things for good. It's the
Mhm.
miraculous hand of God and his ability to make all paths straight again. And truly,
Yeah.
like we started out the whole conversation, restoration.
Yeah.
Restoration, right? So
Yeah.
so we know here's something I'm super excited about is in Henry County for a long time because you guys all of you guys know I was on the county council for several years, and in those early days when I was on the county council, like we'd talk about addiction. What are we going to do? What's the jail going to do? What's the sheriff going to do? What do we do with this? Because it didn't seem like anything was here, right? But all of a sudden, I had to, when I was talking to Leah and Laura last time, I began to notice, wait a second, there are blooms popping up.
Mhm.
We're starting to have a lot of stuff available. So,
Yes.
in what you guys in particular with the Henry County Women's Recovery Center, what makes what you do unique from, say, we know there's Hagar's House. We know there's Miranda Madison, I think, does a program. And there's a few others, right? So what makes you specifically unique in what you do?
Yeah, so we definitely are different. I think you're right. There's a lot of things coming up in the community that the community desperately needs.
And it's kind of
And it's
synergistic, right?
right, and it's great how we're all in our own lane,
Yes, right.
right? We're all doing something that helps collaborative, but we're all different. Yeah, Hagar's Hope is a transitional home, right? They help women from jail or homelessness get back on their feet. And we
Yeah.
are actually their recovery program. So we work with them. So they send us.
I think Shelly's trying to do like a disco thing over there or
I was
something.
like, what is
She's
going on?
having a party all on her
First,
own,
Yeah,
ain't she?
is Chris in the
walking in.
background like flipping the switch or something?
First, my son comes walking in, and I'm like, "Get out!" And then my lights going on, and sorry to be just so
That's
distracting.
kind of cool, though.
I don't know what's
Okay, Megan.
Sorry.
Yes. So I was just saying, so yes, we are their recovery program. They send ladies to us for recovery.
Oh, okay.
And then you have, we're not a homeless shelter. We're not a shelter for women. We're also not a live-in center just yet, as that is still our goal to get there at some point. But what we bring is a structured day program
A structured day program.
A structured day program, yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they come in for the day, a few days a week, for their therapy and the different modalities that we offer. And there are two very unique modalities that we offer that really make us stand out. And I'll let Shelly share on one of them, which is brain rewiring,
Okay.
and she can tell you about that. That really helps us be different.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so the brain rewiring it's a standout piece of our program that a lot of traditional approaches, they focus mainly on behavior, just stop the substance use,
Yeah.
learn coping tools,
Right.
things like that. And those things are important, okay? They have their place, but we help women to understand what's happening in the brain when trauma, stress, or addictive patterns are driving their choices. And so we teach this Christ-centered, science-based practices that actually help the brain form new pathways. And so it's about calming the overactive threat response, and because living in that threat response is what's driving their actions, right? This is where we end up like Paul, like I do what I don't want to do, that Romans 7:15. And
Absolutely.
so what we want to do and what we teach them to do is work on strengthening the parts of the brain that hold hope and peace and joy, and a place where they can actually live out their values. And so this is where, they can hold on to their joy while they go through trials, which is James 1. And because before, what would happen is as soon as I go through a trial is when I end up back in addiction again, because I don't know how to cope, and it's triggering a wound in me. So we teach that. So we teach them practical exercises and healing tools to create new responses. and instead of those old automatic ones that they were doing. And it's really
Yeah.
cool because they realize that they're not broken, that they just have a dysregulated nervous system. And when the women can see that they can renew their minds and their brains can change, it's incredibly empowering for them. It's just
Yeah.
awesome to see.
And I think so. What I found, I assume you would agree with this statement. I guess shouldn't be so presumptuous, but it seems to me that most people in our society don't understand, and actually, because it sounds like it's actually fairly new study, is the actual physical brain, the neurons, the actual physical wiring of the brain changes through addiction.
Yeah.
And it actually physically develops a pattern so that you literally can't help the reaction or the response because it's actually physically wired. Is
Yes.
that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes.
And then if you don't use it, like you start, I don't know the correct word, but you start killing off those neuron connections and you rewire new connections.
Yeah, you've got to build new pathways.
New pathways. Yeah.
Yes. And also because those are formed during addiction and they're formed during trauma and long-term stress.
Yes.
It's when our brain goes into our threat response, when we go into survival mode and we live there and stay there. That's really damaging to our body and our mind. And so what we're teaching them is how to get to the place in their brain where they can access executive functioning, creativity, hope and joy and peace, all of those things, so that we can
literally is a rewiring. It's restoring.
It's actually rewiring, creating new neural pathways.
That is so cool. I want to be sure we move on, but I love this stuff. I also heard, I'm sure you have too, when I was studying psychology a little bit, that even a baby in the womb can actually have trauma experience.
Oh yeah.
That physically wires in them. And so by the time that kid's 10, 12 years old, there's things going on like nobody can figure out, but it actually was wired that way, right? Because of trauma, even in the womb.
Yeah. Yeah. And the stories, I know Megan's going to elaborate more on that, but some of these women have been through some really painful things. And and our body remembers trauma. It's like stuck in there, And so we've got to take our body through a process of coming out of it, because when we get stuck in that threat response and our body remembers that that's where it's stuck, it's like we have to tell our body and our mind that we're safe again, and we have to show it that they're safe, show our mind and our body that we're safe, which is another thing that the equine does as well. And I know that Meagan can share more about that. The equine is also really awesome at helping them to feel grounded and safe. There's something about the horse and the bigness of the horse, and she can tell you more about it though because she understands it better. But we really focus on healing trauma in those two ways: the brain rewiring and then the equine therapy.
Yeah. When I see the word, I know what it is. How do you pronounce that?
Equine.
Equine. Okay.
Equine. Yes, equine. Yes.
So when I saw you guys doing that, I saw a posting on social media about that. Thought that was amazing. I don't know much about it, but I've heard about it, and I've always heard success stories. So Meagan, get into that second leg or what Shelly was talking about.
Yeah. So equine therapy is horse therapy for those who we get asked that a lot. What is equine? So it's
why don't we just call it horse therapy?
Because equine just sounds cooler, okay?
It's scientific.
It is. This is a very amazing and beautiful therapy to be able to bring to these ladies who don't even have any grid for it, really. Some of them have never even been around horses, Sure. The unique thing about it is it's a therapy that doesn't feel like therapy, right? Like You got to go to horse therapy. It doesn't feel like you're going to therapy because it's the horses so naturally do their job.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so horses just have a natural tendency about them to start lowering your stress levels and your anxiety levels when you're just around them, and they make you be present. Like if you're with a 1,200-pound animal, you better be present.
Yes.
And so
I see
you don't
that.
have
Yeah.
time to right? You don't have time to think. You're not thinking about all your junk and all your stress and everything. You are focused on that animal, and not in a scary way, but in a I
Yeah.
need to be present and know and look at this horse and watch its communication. Make sure I'm communicating well with it. Watch its body language, my body language, and there's something about when the women. So what the women do, they do this once a week. They learn how to groom a horse, they learn how to lead a horse, and they learn how to do groundwork. And so groundwork is anything that you're not on the saddle, you're not on the horse, you're on the ground working with the horse and working with it on taking it through different exercises. And so they get to just build a unique connection with these animals, and they learn communication skills, how to be self-aware. The animals help just bring them out of their
Yeah.
anxiety and their trauma responses. They naturally do that. But also if a woman can't naturally come out of it with a horse, we kind of got to walk through her with that, because she can't get all flighty with a horse or mad at a horse. We have to, let's work on your feelings right now. Let's work on controlling, right? These responses that are coming up in you, because the horse will react a certain way, right? And so it challenges her in that way too.
Can you give like a lifelike example that you've seen, like what that would look like? Horses kind of getting a little, and this lady is getting a little aggravated, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what would you do, or whoever, like how would you interact with that particular situation?
With a horse and maybe a woman that's a little anxious. Yeah. So there's a couple different ways. We have had that before. And in this situation, the horse was just the horse was picking up on her anxiousness,
Yes.
and she couldn't come out of it. And the horse was just moving all around. Like usually the horse stands still, but it was feeling it.
A
They
little
do, they pick
jittery,
up
right?
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was moving all around, and she usually doesn't. And so in this instance, we actually just took the lady and put her with a horse that could take it and not be bothered by it.
Okay.
And then so it helped the woman relax.
Okay. Yeah.
And then in other instances, sometimes we have to work with the lady on asking her, what are you feeling right now? What's coming up? And we, reiterate Shelly's tools on what she can be doing right now to come out of this flight energy or this whatever trauma response she's in, and just help her work through it in that moment with these horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to me, as soon as you mentioned someone else, you mentioned Shelly come in, like the first thing I think of is how cool it is, like to understand I always see things like this as puzzles, and everybody has a piece,
Yep.
Right.
Everybody has and I like what you said earlier too about, yeah, there's different groups, but we all have our lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I truly, since I've been talking to people on this subject over the past, I don't know, 6 months or so, like it's always been a part of my life, right? Like my son went through it. Of course, I'm on the pastoral team at church, so we've had people that needed deliverance and struggled, and so we've all been touched by it in some way. But it's so cool that it's like, I'm excited that in our community, right? Like we see things happen around us, but we're not responsible. We're not responsible for everybody, but we are responsible for our community. And I'm super excited about seeing all the puzzle pieces start fitting together. And another thing that I'm learning myself is, because we are a small rural community, a lot of us know each other or at least have heard of so and so or so and so. And sometimes there's certain people that get involved that I'm like, man, I don't know about that person, right? Because I've heard this or this. But then
Sure.
when you step back and give grace and you watch God work, it is very cool how somehow God knows what he's doing. You know what I
He
mean?
does.
I mean, somehow, he doesn't really,
Yeah.
need us to give him instruction, but he
No.
puts those pieces together and all of a sudden you start seeing the bigger picture and it's like, wow,
Hmm.
this is
Hmm.
so awesome. And so many
Yeah.
people have the opportunity uh, to change their life, right? And
Yes.
I know each one of you, I'm sure, have felt the same way. Probably do on a regular basis. You see certain people, and you're like, man, I wish I could make you understand what I understand. I wish I could make you experience what I have experienced because you are making it so much harder than it needs to be, right?
No,
So,
sure.
huh. But so I love what you're doing. I want to say this because I don't want to forget about this. But to each one of you, I want to say that I was so encouraged back when I very, very first saw that you guys were starting out on this endeavor. Because Megan, you and I have briefly talked a couple of times, but I didn't know you. But
Hmm.
I knew Shelly and I knew Tiffany, and I had spent time with Tiffany a little bit with Victory Lane Camp. And so when I saw this launching and who was involved, my heart was just full of confidence, and I was like, "This is awesome." And
Yeah.
so I was so excited, so amazing to see you guys doing this. Shelly, we talked, and I talked to you during a time. I know you've always been passionately pursuing God
Yeah.
since you've found salvation, but I know that we sat down and had coffee together. It was me and you and someone else, I think. Maybe, anyways, it was someone else there with us. And I'm like, man, this woman has something for this community, And I knew you were pursuing something at that time, but I was just like, I just wanted to encourage you, right?
Yeah.
And then shortly thereafter, all of a sudden, the puzzle pieces, start coming together. So I'm so excited. I did want to get that out there in front of you guys before we run out of time on my low budget podcast. But so, who would be a great fit for this program, right? So, addiction is in many different forms. There's many different personalities of women, right? Men too, but we're specifically talking about women. Um, who's a good fit for this program? Do they need to believe in Christ? Do they need to have some type of understanding of who God is, or just simply an acceptance of understanding? Okay, this is a Christian program. I understand that I'm going to hear about the Bible. Who's a good fit?
Yeah. So, really, a good fit for our program is really just anyone who's ready to make a change. Anybody who understands that healing takes commitment and that they are willing to invest in themselves. You can be a believer. You don't have to be a believer to be in that. You just have to be okay that we are going to present it in a Christ-filled way.
Right,
And as long as you're okay with that, then come on in, but
right,
you don't
right.
have to already be a believer. And in fact, we've had somebody come in that wasn't a believer and became a believer because they joined our program.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. But and it can be anybody at any point in their recovery. So 30 days in clean to 2 years clean. If you get into 2 years and you realize I need some extra help, then come on into our program. We've got the tools that will help sustain long-term health and recovery. And so, because we're not a casual drop in when you feel like it kind of program. So we walk alongside people. This is a commitment. We give you tools and there's homework and, there's a commitment, there's an expectation, all of those things. So this is the thing.
Yeah,
But our program it's a day program. So the participants need to have a safe and stable place to live. Um, because we work with them throughout the week, and then they go home. So they just come to us for classes, and then they go home, and they come for meetings, and then they go back home. So, but if someone doesn't have stable housing, we do work closely with Hagar's Hope, the
Okay.
local transition home. And so when they have openings, then it can be a great option for housing.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tiffany, so anyways, I know some of the background, so I'll pretend like I don't, right? But
Okay.
how did you connect and become involved? And because again, when we were seeing each other regularly, it was with Victory Lane Camp. So how'd it go from there to here? How'd you meet Meagan? How'd you meet Shelly? How'd that come together?
Yeah. Well, so Meagan and Shelly and I all go to the same church. Our kids all go to school together, so we are
Okay.
really close friends outside of work as well as at work together. But yeah, I have always had a heart for helping nonprofits and just being the person that comes in and adds stability and processes and programs into the vision that somebody has for a nonprofit. So that's exactly what I did for Victory Lane.
Yeah.
It's what I've done for other nonprofits throughout my life. And when Meagan and Shelly, Meagan had the calling on her, Shelly joined her, and it was just a natural fit kind of for me to come in and be the one that kind of is the boots on the ground, I guess, kind of just making this thing move forward. They both have great visionary minds that kind of have big ideas, and I just make them smaller next step actions so that it's attainable, so that their big visions are attainable.
Yes. So they bring the elephant in.
Yes.
You're the one that says, "Hey guys, one bite at a time,"
Yes,
right?
we got to break this down. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
exactly. Yeah, I know when I first talked to Brett Fisher, for people who don't know, with Victory Lane and 321 Go. Oh my gosh, he was like visionary, like we're gonna conquer the world, and I was like, holy cow, like I like this guy, but man, I need to catch up, right?
Yeah.
And then meeting you, I was like, I understand why she's here, right? Because you were able to, okay, I see what you're saying, but now let me say it in a way that people will actually get it,
Yeah.
and you won't scare them to death, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. So as you was talking, Tiffany, I imagine you're like the one string, that when you pull it, all things come together, right?
There you go. There you go.